Norman, welcome to the 10th episode of the Wimblex podcast. Today, live from Amsterdam during an Emerce and Depth event. It's like an extra podcast which we decided to record because your topic is so interesting.
Yes.
Today, we're going to talk about the development of the performance marketing industry, which you have been involved in.
Yeah.
And usually, I would name the podcast "The Death of SEO," which is how performance marketing is working. Very, very click.
Yeah. But the joke is
click
old.
attractive. No, the joke is not old. Not in the lens. We will involve Willem in a minute. But before that, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing for life.
Yeah, Alex. Hi. Thanks for the invitation here. Was quite a talk in the morning. So thanks again. Yeah, I'm Norman Nielsen. I work in the e-commerce business now since 12 years. I started in Munich and New Delhi, India, with my first marketing experience, and then I worked for Axel Springer. And the last 6.5, 7 years, I worked for Zalando, the European fashion retailer. And I had quite a big team of up to 84 people. I was leading the SEO, ASO department at the beginning, and at the end, I was 3 years heading the content marketing department, including SEO, including content production. So we had a lot of fun ramping up all the 14 countries.
Yeah, as I told you before, you have to now eat your own dog food a little bit, and you need to read one of the category landing pages sentences. So because we need to educate our listeners what SEO meant actually a couple of years ago, how it worked, and maybe we can deep dive into that. Maybe let's start with your observation about like the Dutch market or the general understanding of the German market versus the rest of Europe. So what I've learned is that a lot of online marketing and performance marketing tactics started in Europe and had been developed a lot within Zalando and with all the Zalando clones. And therefore, we find a lot of aggressive tactics in the German market. So how do you look on other markets like the Dutch market, the Nordics, maybe Southern Europe? So do they use the same tactics? Is it working the same way? Is it less aggressive? Or do the websites for online fashion are looking the same in Spain as they are looking in Germany?
Yeah. So first of all, you're totally right. The aggressive market changed. Yeah. The quality of content changed. Yeah. At the beginning, between 2008, 2013, 14, it was all about ramping up very fast, very cheap content on your site and partnerships of value, low value, mid-size value. This had a hard turn in 2015 on the more advanced markets like Germany, like UK, where websites realized that it's better to be user-centered in what you do, that also SEO elements can actually support user experience on the site. So we and others started rethink the idea of the content, that it supports actually the decision-making of the user. So we changed the quality of the text. Maybe you will find some gems from before. Yeah.
No. I just because with the English podcast, I tell you in a minute. Yeah.
But at the end, we bought high class content for the web page or created them ourselves. The difference in the single markets is quite clear. The UK is very advanced. Yeah. Google rolls out early their updates in the UK market. The Nordics have a low competition level, so it's an easy entrance if you do everything around branding and performance right. Yeah. Also, Spain is smaller, of course. France is always difficult. Yeah. Google is difficult to read in France. You have a very mixed spectrum of e-commerce. There are a lot of platforms competing for similar product categories and so on. And the German market is, as always, a large market with a lot of competitors.
Yeah. But what do you say when you're, if you're looking back, and I usually explain the development of e-commerce in with the example of Zalando. I say, okay, like 15 years ago, it was good enough to have an e-commerce business with 10, 20, 30 million in revenue. If it was like cash flow positive, you could grow on based on this. And then Zalando somehow entered the market in 2008, 2009, and really started the online marketing arbitrage industry. And then you, in one moment to the next moment, you needed like 20 people in the online marketing team just there to compete with Zalando or with the Zalandos of other industries. And hiring or having like 20 people, financing 20 people meant you need like 100 million in online revenue, or maybe 200 million. And then it even got much more complicated when during the international rollout. So for me, in this kind of story I'm telling to the market, so Zalando was really like the first company in Europe that realized the value and the arbitrage potential of online marketing. And now, if you're looking like 10 years later, and with 2018 into the market, all the strategies that had been invented like 10 years ago are worthless today, more or less. So it's like it became hygiene, and therefore you can't differentiate yourself through writing better SEO text on your landing page anymore. That is more my perception of the market.
Yeah, so my perception is that Zalando turned 10 years now this month, in October. And we have a lot of automation going on, so you don't need these big workforces anymore. When I started, it was the hottest shit out there to have a big online marketing workforce and do everything by hand. And for every niche, you have a single advertisement, a single plan. So these times, I would say, are over. Yes, for most of the channels, so you can't differentiate yourself anymore via Facebook or search advertising on the market. I still think there's potential for brands to do better content that supports not only the hardcore buy shoes, deep in the funnel transactional content, but also upper funnel, mid funnel. There's a lot of potential in doing still great stuff, handmade stuff that supports your brand and your customer journey also on the site.
Yeah, but when you're looking back and when you're looking into other markets, do you still think there's potential with standard performance marketing strategies in not so far developed markets like the Netherlands market, for example, or like the Swedish market?
The Dutch market now with Amazon is started in January. I would say is also a fast-growing market, so the standards are growing fast here. Yeah, so it's not that easy to build some arbitrage model like 10 years ago in Germany, also in the Netherlands anymore. I think there are still markets like the Czech market, maybe the Portugal or Poland, where it's still a bit easier to win with old tactics. Yeah.
Yeah. If we zoom in on SEO, you've been managing SEO teams for quite a long time in your career, so you're the expert to ask. We see that Google rolls out, I think, 200 updates a year, big ones like Panda or Penguin or Hummingbird, but also they
or even medical updates,
exactly. But they also made some changes in the way they provide data to you. In Google Analytics, they actually don't source keyword data anymore for non-paid clicks.
Yeah.
And secondly, they also made another move that is what you could say disadvantaging SEO, which is that mobile is leading. And the mobile display actually displays now on the desktop as well with 4 ads on top instead of 3. These developments obviously influenced in a huge way the work you did at Zalando and the work we are doing on SEO.
Yeah.
In what way have that changed the SEO landscape?
Yeah, I think there was a tipping point when it got more difficult. When Google was not providing the keywords anymore. So now we have prediction models. There are 2-3 good models out there to predict what kind of keywords are actually ranking for your single URLs. So this got a bit harder, but still it's an SEO business. Yeah,
and these models are you using to indicate what the keywords
keywords are. And I mean, at Zalando we had URLs with thousands of keywords ranking. Yeah. So this is also what not one of the standard tools can show you on the market. Yeah. This is a very long tail business. And you jump into when you catch up all the transactional top keywords, you go into more long tail, and you go into other things like information keywords, information queries, upper funnel content types like presented today, the yoga guide, the travel guide. So they all support then new type of rankings. Okay. They also support your transaction keywords. You know? And
the mobile SERP, how is that different compared to desktop search engine result pages?
We all know the mobile SERP. The organic results are getting pushed down. Some mobile SERPs, you're not only having the 4 ads, but you also have the local one boxes with the maps. So you for sure lose some traffic here on your main keywords. Yeah,
and did you have a counter-attack strategy at Zalando when this change happened?
I mean, if you look on the market, it makes sense to broaden your spectrum on the keywords. Yeah? Okay. So you say it's not about shoes, buy shoes, but you really go into buy sneakers 2018 online. Okay. Yeah? So you broaden your whole assortment with all filters, with everything you have. If people search for it, I'm a big fan of a big keyword set. If the people search for something, you have to offer a URL for it. Yeah. If mobile or not.
So that's actually long tail.
This is long tail
and also mid and head tail. Did you change your strategy on mid and head tail keywords as well? Or
I would say for mobile you have the responsive design. Yeah? Almost every web page now is on responsive. If you don't mess it up with the redirects from your mobile side to your new responsive side, then I think you keep the rankings here. Yeah. What some forget is that you have a top keyword like shoes, like PS4 or whatever. This is not the only keyword on the site. You have these thousands of keywords on the URL. You still have to, offer something for, you know.
But going back to the strategies you started to deploy in 2008, 2009, those keywords text, and looking now at the market how people are searching these days. I also know the story you told before of Robert Gent and his focus on let's be where customers are. Let's be on Google. Let's be very, very visible on all those stuff. Now we are saying the same for Amazon. So people starting search on Amazon. Zalando became, in some markets, maybe the Amazon for fashion. So people are starting more and more in the Zalando app or on Zalando DE. Search for Google. So, but let's assume, and we have a lot of young listeners here. Let's assume you're now building a new fashion online retailer. How would you do it today? What is performance marketing driven by today?
So, as I'm not at Zalando anymore, would put it on a broader spectrum and say the customers now that are out there, the users are different. Yeah, they don't follow the typical journey anymore. Go on an ad, go on organic, and then on your webpage or your app. So they're more spontaneously. If they see something in Snapchat now, they can buy it on Amazon. There's a direct link. Yeah, they have their Instagram. Hotspots. They have their Instagram moments. I think it goes more into what we call still social media marketing, although maybe it's time to call it a bit different because also social media marketing is turning very professional. You know, if you look into the WeChats in Asia, which offer payment in the chat system itself and do everything in there, so the conversation commerce grows fast. So you need more. You need to offer more. Yeah, it's not enough to just go for search and maybe some display ads here. You have to be present with your brand on way more different platforms.
Is it? Do you see, and even as you're not a member of the Zalando team anymore, but you probably have better access to those tools or better visibility to the market. Yeah. Do you see new upcoming online fashion retailers in the European market on a frequent level? The last big bang was About You on a more or less European level.
Haven't
in
seen
the market.
Them. Joking.
In your tools, in your tools. Maybe they are biased, but have you seen similar events in the last, like, let's say, 12 to 24 months?
I think Zalando is a heavy driver and a heavy platform here now, collecting all the offline stores also, yeah, and connecting them. Still, there are the ASOS of Europe going on, yeah. There is Boohoo coming up in the Nordics. So there are always things coming up, little players that tackle younger customers on different platforms. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But do you see some specific player in the industry?
As I said, I had a look at what was it, Boohoo,
yeah.
for example. There's also in the Nordics, I think, something called Boost. But in Germany, the classic players are still on top.
And do you still have like the feeling that you can handle social with the same skills and metrics which you used for performance marketing?
The approach just doing display, Facebook, and search, paid search, will not lead to success anymore. That's my personal opinion for the future. So you need to dive into the new topics where actually the younger customers, which will be your future customers, are. Which are distracted everywhere from Insta to Snap. They will even do something in WhatsApp one day. Yeah.
Yeah, but how can you reach them in WhatsApp then? What is your approach there?
So what my approach would be, hire younger people who understand it. Try to dive into it. I tried to dive into Snapchat. That was not successful. Yeah. If you guys have you tried Snapchat? I'm
still figuring out Instagram now. I'm reading all these articles on TikTok, former Musical.ly.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I talked with Tarek Müller, founder of About You, about this topic a couple of weeks ago, and he explained, when I started with my online businesses, it was the time when Facebook went big and really grew up with Facebook, and I can feel it when a post is good. So I don't even understand Instagram anymore, which is like the 10 years after Facebook, and Musical.ly, TikTok is like not another 10 years, but 5 years, and it's even the people that are good in Instagram or Instagram only, maybe they don't understand like how these platforms are working, and all the metrics I've learned for Twitter, for example, don't apply in these new platforms and Snapchat, and it's not able. I'm still figuring out how to, and I don't understand why it's not possible to retweet stuff in Instagram. That would be so easy for me to comment on other people's content and doing something entertaining, but it's not possible at all, and so people are reacting totally different. So that's why I'm trying to figure out, so what is like the approach today, because still people need to have, or companies need to have a reliable way of turning marketing money into real revenue. And the performance marketing time, which really came to light in 2007, 2008, was a good way to show. So it's still to be discussed if the cost per order versus customer lifetime view is correct on the long term, but he somehow had a model where you could say, okay, let's put us 1 million in this channel next year, and with like a probability of 80%, 90%, we are getting 5 million in revenues in this this category out of this. And if I look now into WhatsApp or Instagram or WeChat, I don't see a way how to predict it. It's a much more intense test and learn, and that is actually for bigger companies that's a big threat, because it's test and learn might sound good on a stage like here on the Emerce event, but it's a hell in corporate environments, because it's not you can't do your planning based on that.
Yeah, I mean, testing for at least bigger companies worked and still works if you test it, let's say, in a niche in a single country. So you grab yourself a country, go to Spain and test it in a niche, women's sports, for example. Yeah. So this could be one approach. But what is good leadership? Good leadership is hiring people that are different from you, that know other stuff better, the newer stuff better, so that you chase the people here who know who are the influencers maybe even and understand the metrics of Snapchat and Instagram and get them on board. Yeah.
What was your approach in getting adapted to Snapchat?
As I said, I never cracked Snapchat.
But how did you fail? Maybe you can save us some time.
I just failed overall in understanding the idea of Snapchat. Yeah, I'm just now diving into Instagram and I see your posts there, quite business related ones. Always, I'm not sure if that is the idea of Instagram.
We'll see. I don't know either. But
I only have my food pictures and outdoor pictures. Yeah, and I slowly get an understanding how it works. Whenever I post something different, it doesn't work. So there are metrics and systems. Probably you can figure out. But getting these young people who are on YouTube and figured out the system there, and on Instagram, getting them on board might speed up your process in a big company.
Yeah. So suppose I'm a retailer and I'm venturing into e-tail, which is I'm a rather late player. And I want to set up my digital marketing team right now.
Yes.
You already explained that attracting talent and good leadership also enables others to flourish.
Yeah.
You also mentioned automation. What are the traits for winning e-commerce and performance marketing teams right now?
Well, yeah, that's a very big question here for all of us three here. I think the automation in some channels, especially the all performance channels, help to do more stuff with less people. Yeah, you still need
what
someone.
What kind of automation?
Yeah, the people. That you automate your ad, create your search. Ads, that you automate your cropping of the display banner and so on. So there are a lot of systems out there. There are also systems for ad text for content. Yeah, if you look at Bloomberg and their finance and sport news, they're all machine written nowadays. I think there's potential for machine written stuff, but not on all sides. Yeah, you still need the human element on a lot of creative on the new stuff where a machine cannot predict anything for you. Yeah, you need people who steer the performance channels still on the market, but the shift to a bit more brand and social is there when you hire the people. Yeah. And maybe even looking into the maybe you have experience here, but looking in the channels, who's doing it already great? Yeah, where are the young people on YouTube who understood their audience, who have millions of followers? Is there someone, or is there someone growing? Yeah, there are tools who show you who's the growing star on YouTube. Get them on board. Yeah?
And then what kind of relationship in terms of influencer marketing? Get involved with them on an influencer way, or?
I think these are two different things. Yeah, the one is a professional business of understanding the business. Yeah, and the other thing is getting them on board for a campaign on an influencer basis. I would divide it in two sides here. The business side, really deep on the channel, the metrics, the understanding. The other thing is if it's a fashion influencer who can do your megaphone to the audience. Yeah. That's a different story. Yeah, you could still try to get them on board, but I see it a bit different.
You talked about measuring success on influencer channels. How did you measure success on SEO? What were your metrics there? Was it purely cost per sale and amounts of sales, or did you also look at other metrics?
Yeah, I mean, SEO is a performance channel. At the end, everywhere it's about the return on invest. Yeah, how much you invest in a channel. And SEO, it's a bit long term, so you don't look at the euro spend and what's the outcome on visits tomorrow, but it's what's the outcome in the next 12 months, 24 months. So you need a bit different model in SEO than the other performance channels. Still, it's about the return on invest based on sale, before, after returns, whatever. Yeah.
There's a lot of Dutch businesses that are still on the edge of going really, really intense into digital. And when they're looking to Zalando or to an ASOS or to Bol.com and say, okay, that's way too far ahead, we need to focus on the basics, and they need some advice on building online marketing teams, coming from a traditional marketing approach where printing, whatever, TV ads. So what would you suggest how should a team, an online marketing team for a company in this transformational phase should look like today?
It's a good discussion point here for all of us. The first thing is, if they come from a traditional business, what's new on the market? We have way more data. It's way more analytics driven. You have way more tools. So starting with a team that has a bit more understanding of all the tool landscape and the analytics landscape and more data driven, actually, is a good starting point when you build a new team after digital transformation or in the digital transformation process.
But specifically, what does it mean? Let's say you have like a 2 billion in revenue through, let's say it's a B2C, traditional retail business, DIY, food, whatever. And now going, okay, let's build a website, whatever, and you somehow probably end up hiring an agency, but then you really want to start in-housing online marketing, as you've understood that this becomes a crucial capability in the e-commerce competition. So how many people would you need? What kind of roles would you need? What would you start hiring first? Or who would you start hiring first?
Well, really depends on the business, I would say. Yeah, so a tricky question here.
Okay, let's say DIY.
Starting with the basis of paid channels. Yeah, so next to all the automation you have and the tooling, you still need people who steer on a very smart basis with bringing all the innovations in there. People. So I would start with the classic performance channels. Not like in the old times with a lot of people, but maybe some who can really steer the automated models out there. Second thing is, if you understood how social works for you, you need people who can really dive into the social topic. Yeah, what are social channels that might work for you in the future? Where actually your audience is, yeah, depending on your niche. So people who can identify the audience. And then if you have some play money left over, maybe you can also jump into models that are hard to predict, like the influencer market. Yeah.
So would you start actually with the influencer market? If this one is still hard to predict, of course, but it seems to be so super hot. So there's like popping up 8-9 figure online brands every day.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's point 3 on the steps I would do. So it's not the first, but maybe the third or fourth step. I think the influencer market is hot. Maybe it's too hot in some fields. If I look at the prices, influencer offered, very small influencer offered to me.
Can you give us examples? You don't need to pinpoint.
I got a lot of offers from influencer from UK who wanted to have high 5-digit euro pound amounts for just producing some content and publish it 1 or 2 times.
With how many followers?
Not too many.
Yeah, tell us a number, like 50,000, 500? Under 50,000.
Yes.
And they wanted to have like 50,000 euros.
Yes. So that's more than €1 per impression.
Yes. So
no, much more. It's not an impression. Like 50,000 followers probably create. Let's say you have like a 10% engagement rate.
Yes.
5,000 impressions.
Engagement.
Yeah. So the prices are there out there. And some
I just need to write down about my influencer.
So
revenue
the
stream.
The influencer market is really intransparent. People still don't have a model. What actually is the value of a follower? Yeah. What is a valuable follower? Yeah. The tools show your follower. I can buy 1,000 followers probably on some platforms, which have no value at all. So you don't get any secondary, third effects here from these follower. So really hard. It's more or less, if you grab the right influencer, they are still growing and they have a good price. Maybe you can calculate some good model out there, but it wouldn't be the first or second step when building the digital marketing team.
Sounds like the TV market 2 years ago. TV already introduced measurement tools to measure the effectiveness of offline campaigns on online sales.
Yeah.
The influencer marketing is less evolved, according to you.
What I see is what on the market is now probably looking at single channels. Of course, we had the big times of finding attribution models and so on, but I don't think that looking at single channels and steer them to perfection is the perfect model to understand the customer, right? Because SEA supports SEO, SEO supports other activities. Maybe the influencer have effects on other channels, so you get better clicks rates somewhere. So you need somehow an understanding and a person at the beginning of this change who understands data, who can look holistically at all the channels and the effects to each other.
And then really paint a customer journey with all the phases a customer goes through.
Kind of.
But aren't you the person that is approached now by headhunters and HR people to work for, I don't know, let's take a Dutch company for the Heinekens and Philips of this world to build the online marketing team there?
Yes.
Yeah, but there's not so many people with your profile around. So you have a very, very relevant profile, super relevant profile.
Yeah.
Scarce resource. You can probably demand mid 6 digits amounts of money as a salary. Though for most retailers with businesses that generate 1 to 3% EBITDA margin, that's very, very hard to finance. What could their shortcut be? Do they need to focus on newer, much riskier channels, but with higher return on invest, maybe? Or would you still say, okay, focus on, let's say it's a DIY platform here in the Netherlands. The market is probably not so super intense, selling, I don't know, DIY stuff.
Yeah.
Please start with writing your first...
Like Obi, like Horbach in Germany, for
start
example.
with your 10,000 SEO landing page text, and that's going to be the best return on invest you can make.
So if the competitor level is low, you look, of course, at the channels that are cheap with the highest outcome. So it will probably end up, if it's a low competitor market, that you start doing your SEO right. Especially in the Dutch market, I would still go for the SEO approach here. Nowadays it's a bit different, so you start with the content that supports also, like Obi is doing since 2-3 weeks. They have advice content for all their product categories. So they support their SEO by actual user content. That's the newer approach I would go, even on smaller markets. Still, if you have a model and you need your revenue, you go for the performance channels and figure out what to do there. The paid performance channels. So starting with SEO, doing it the new way, also in markets like the Dutch or Belgian market, supported by content that is actually coming out of the user from the user-centered approach. So you offer them DIY guidance on how to build a house, how to paint the wall, how to whatever. That will support anyway your SEO rankings already.
And you said, we talked a lot about different channels, and you correctly said, okay, please take a holistic view to these channels because they all interact with each other. And I completely believe in that strategy. There's one party that we are missing at the party, actually. One player that is growing rapidly and changing the SEO landscape as well, which is Amazon.
Amazon,
How is that? How is that influencing the SEO work? And how is that influencing also the strategy for the Hornbachs or other players of this world?
It's a good question. There are companies even specialized in doing the rankings on Amazon already. I heard about it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting market. Must be superb companies. Pretty smart ones.
What's your view on that, on Amazon SEO?
For
Amazon as a marketplace?
There are products and companies for sure it makes sense for them to sell their stuff on Amazon, or at least to test what are the prices on Amazon there. I don't think that it's, especially for the bigger players, it can't be a single strategy selling everything on one platform so that you depend on this one platform and their algorithms and their models here. So it can only be inside the mixture for most of the companies. Maybe you have a single product that you want to sell. Maybe there it makes sense. But for the bigger players, they have to go for multi-channel strategy. Still, Amazon is now also in the Netherlands. No?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're coming very soon.
Or
not, but we expect it to come.
Yeah, but they entered some the smaller European markets like the Switzerland or so recently. So their strategy is quite clear that they go into all the markets here, and if you participate or not, they will grow in these markets. So you just have to figure out how can they fit into your model, your marketing mix, but not as a single channel.
And then, is there any difference compared to regular platform SEO? If you compare managing your own platform versus managing Amazon SEO?
I mean, if you read the other podcasts about Amazon SEO, what they advise, probably also Alex has some learnings on it. For me, the factors are quite clear. It's like basic SEO in all times. You have the recommendation world, you have the text and the content world. You have the perfection and title, description, and all the little things you have to do around, and how you deliver it fast, how you use Prime. Now, all these factors support your rankings in there. And also how much of your products are bought there, no? Or Alex, you have a bit more?
Yeah, I think it's called Amazon SEO, but it's a totally different skill. That is why Factor A is so successful right now. What's interesting is that in 80% of the cases, the ranking correlates with the frequency of with the selling frequency. Mm-hmm. So, and that is something you can't protect. So in SEO, it's like if you're ranking for some address in a certain market, it's really, really hard to push you away. So it usually doesn't happen overnight. So in a standard case, in the Amazon case, it can happen overnight, and that's so it's a very different business. Much harder to, of course, if you're number one, you're getting free revenue, so to say, but it's really hard to stay number one, and that's different in SEO. And there's a couple of shortcuts there, of course, and it was different in the beginning. But today, I wouldn't even dream about aiming for number one at Google for the keyword sum address. So there's so many big elephants invested in this keyword already, so I must have like a super trick to go there. It's not possible anymore.
So it's like, what you want to say is that someone who has a big ad spend and has a lot of selling potential or sells a lot of products on a frequent basis also ranks higher in the regular side, right?
And that is so. That is
Google in the early days as well.
Exactly. And that is my last question on for this episode. So what we are seeing, or what I see, is that the networks in Amazon and Google and Facebook try to protect their customers. So they want to have like the ad spend in the networks. They make it harder and harder to for your attribution modeling to find out where does the click come from, how was the click influencing the buying decision. So even with very sophisticated models, even like with probably like the Zalando tools, it's really hard to find out how your marketing euro on a specific Facebook campaign influence the purchase of the sum address, and that would lead me to the conclusion to say, okay, maybe for new companies, let's keep with the DIY market. It makes sense to focus on one network first, because it's in and then you have then you're kind of eliminating all these blurring effects from other networks where you can't interpret your numbers in the tracking.
I'm not sure. I have a different view on it, because what you see happening now, and Google also predicts that, is that we are going to a first-party world where you want to own the data, and then looking at that data and then seeing how people behave between platforms and analyzing that data to forecast where you most effectively spend your marketing euros on. So if you foresee a future where, as a DIY shop, you're the owner of your data, and you have like a data management platform in place, then it doesn't really matter with which platforms you work. And if you have a good media buying tool, you're able to programmatically purchase ads on multiple platforms and multiple with different ad solutions. So if you look at it from a situation where as a shop you want to own the data and bring everything to your own platform, then I wouldn't mind that much to invest on multiple platforms, as long as you're able to measure the effectiveness and the outcome per platform.
You see it's the same?
Depending on the size of the company we're discussing here, if you want to grow, you need a certain amount of user you can reach for a reasonable price, for a return on invest model here. So probably a single platform might be not enough. In any case, I think it makes sense if you test multiple platforms at the beginning and find out what is your preferred or for your niche best working platform, the best one or two approaches. Of course, this is the one you will scale more than the others. Yeah, sure,
of course.
Yeah, but then we still talk about the traditional channels, the traditional models. What about all the approaches I read on the Spryker homepage, for example, that you can not only use your web shop, but what is about your app? What about the assistant and the bot world? Yeah, how do you jump into the assistants and the Alexas and Watsons in this world? Yeah, I think you should. Also keep an eye on the future developments here. What are the new channels that are come up where you get maybe free traffic? If you look at the featured snippet in Google now on top, when my kids, they are 3, they ask the Google, my Google Home, what is a rump steak? What's the sound of an orangutan or so? Then it comes, and soon you will have the e-commerce elements in there. Yeah, so you actually you have it already in the US. Yeah, you can buy at Walmart with your assistant and so on. So there will probably some new models coming up quite fast that could help some companies.
So, but just to sum it up, just general understanding. So, and I use it very frequently when I give keynote speak. So the good thing of today is, so it's never been more easier tomorrow. So it gets more complicated and complicated and complicated. So it's there's no incentive to start late and to wait. So there's no final answers. There's no golden ticket to shortcut your way into online marketing. The learning curve you had the luck to be a part of in the last 10 years is still very valid, and you need to apply it right now in other networks. It's all, as you stated, it's even for a person like you not a very easy move. So imagine what an old marketeer could have a kind of a hard time to do the trick. But even in the newer, smaller markets like in the Dutch or Nordics or Southern Europe, there's it's not like 2008 in Germany. It's more like 2017, and it was a hard time 2017 already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Cool to have you here in the podcast. I think we're going to follow up on the performance marketing track in a couple of other shows. Maybe going deeper into TikTok. Maybe we can invite a TikTok pro, but must record then before like 10 p.m. Most of these pros are very young. And good luck with your performance marketing career.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much for being in the show, Norman.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Good. Take care.